But the importance of us understanding that our minds have to be shaped into the mind of Christ is critical. You know, it's not good enough to just know that you got to not sin. Everybody know that, bro. You know, but who's striving to have the mind of Christ? Who's striving to really have their mind subjected to the will of God? You know, when I say the will of God, I mean that in which that God predestined before you was born. You feel me? Like, who's really striving to think those type of thoughts that Christ thought? You know, it's not enough to just know that Christ went to the cross and died on the cross. You know, everybody can answer that question and say what he did, but we don't really know why. You know, we can say because we was all sinners and sin needed to be, and all that stuff is true. But I'm talking about his mindset. I'm talking about his heart posture. You feel me? Nobody really knows. And the truth is, it's because he is love. You know, love is something that's not sought after. The scriptures tell us that God is love, and this world has painted our perspective on what love is, so we have this screwed up perspective of love. We don't know what love is. The scriptures teach us that love doesn't seek its own, meaning love is not selfish. Look at the actions of Christ and everything that he did, everything that he spoke, even when he was hard and real and straightforward and direct, he was all love. You feel me? And we have to strive to have this mind in us. Again, it's not enough to just know that you got to stop sinning. Don't get me wrong. God's going to accept your obedience. You feel me? But we want to be obedient in understanding. You feel me? Yes, you want to be obedient. Strive, keep striving, never stop striving to obey the faith. But I promise you, you know, you want your mind to be transformed. You know, you want to feel the emotions that God feel, man. You feel me? You know, you want the fruit of the Spirit. You really do. You know, you want to be able to look at people that's lost and have a level of compassion for them. Really share the emotions of Christ. It's not enough, bro. Like we got to grow up and mature past the elementary principles of the gospel. We have to, man. If we're going to be here, if God is going to keep you alive, grow up, man. Allow God to mature you into the image that he predestined you to be. The image of Christ. So that, how the scriptures say, so that you may be the first fruits of many. So that folks can look at you and your life live and glorify God because they see you, because they know you, because they are around you, because they are around this different mindset that ain't nothing like they ever been in touch with. The scriptures say that Christ in us, or Christ in you, is the hope of all glory. That simply means that God in you is the hope of the God in you being manifested through your life lived. So strive for the mind of Christ. If that's something that you feel like you want to pray on, you know, get deeper with God. You feel me, bro? We all talk about this personal relationship that we all have with God. Well, that personal relationship should be bearing fruit in the way you think too, in the way you feel, in the way you see life. You know, I ask God all the time to let me see this world the way you see it. You know, let me see people the way you see people. Let me understand this world the way you understand this world. Let me look at sin the way you see sin. See, because we look at sin and we know it's wrong. We look at sin, do sin, and feel bad because we know it's wrong. We ain't ignorant. We ain't stupid. We believe in God. We believe in his word. We believe that obedience is necessary. So we have that perspective. But, you know, the scriptures teach us that you know, when a man is delivered from sin and goes back to that sin that he's been delivered from, it's like a dog eating its vomit. You know, this is God's mind about sin. God looks at it as disgusting. It is sick, twisted, and disgusting. You know, that's just one aspect. But we have to share the thoughts. You know, pray that your mind will really be transformed and renewed. You feel me? Pray that your mind will really be renewed, bro. You know, God is in the mind renewing business, bro. Real talk. He's in the soul saving business and in the mind renewing and transforming of lives, bro. So pray that God's reality would be more of a reality to you in understanding, in thought, and in emotion. If that make any sense. If anybody can follow what I'm saying. Y'all have a beautiful rest of your day.